Greetings fellow warriors, and welcome back to a somewhat different M.2 Bannerlord video. As the year ends, so does another year of early access, and today I'll go through each major patch and feature that found its way into the game this year, and talk a little about it, giving you my opinion on what was good and what needed a little bit more polish. But before this video properly starts, I have to say that I love this game very much. So when I talk about the negatives or make some shitty jokes, it's not because I don't like this game or the company or anything really. Bannerlord is one of the only reasons this channel even exists, and it's the love, passion and hope for the future that keeps me going. And of course you guys too, but don't tell Arm again. I've never done such a big video before, so I'm going to provide timestamps to different parts of the video. But I do recommend watching it as a whole, so we're on the same page and you can properly understand my feelings regarding Bannerlord. So without further ado, grab your drink, grab some snacks and let's dive in to the M.2 Bannerlord 2021 review. What? Where am I? What happened in the... How did I even survive the village raid? And how did I land up here? Hello? Is someone there?
Hush now, my friend, before anyone can hear us.
Who are you?
I am Baba Bowie.
Wait, I know someone like you. He looked kinda like you, but with a more yellowish armor. Do you by any chance know him?
Yes, he's my brother. He sent me to save you because he thought you're kinda cute. And now I can see why. Anyway, no time for lollygagging. You have to simply pick the lock. A man of your caliber can surely handle this, right?
Well, I hope so, but this doesn't look like any lock I've ever seen. Is that a mobile phone?
Yes, you have to beat raid on it. It's a new type of lock. It should be an easy task, right?
One eternity later.
I can't do it.
What do you mean you can't do it? You have over 600 champions at your disposal, each with their own weaknesses and strengths. An interesting lore and a ton of unique factions. Stand aside, peasant. I will set you free. And if you don't want me to think that you're also a weakling like Mr. Peasant here is, check out
Raid, which is a mobile, turn-based battle MMORPG, played by over 20 million players, making it one of the biggest mobile games ever. Create the perfect alliance of champions and command them in fast-paced PvP arena battles, PvE dungeon runs, clan boss fights and interesting story missions. And now with over 600 champions, Raid is bigger and better than ever before. Use the link below to download Raid yourself onto your mobile phone or PC. One of the newest additions to Raid would be the new Hydra clan boss with 6 heads. So it's like one boss with 6 different sub-bosses, each with their own unique abilities, strengths and weaknesses. Like for example the Head of Torment, which specializes in dragging your team down by using their True Fear ability, making you skip turns and lose access to your skills. Or the Head of Wrath, weakening and taunting your team and enraging after hitting it multiple times, giving itself a new buff which triples its attack power. And as a bonus, from now until the 28th of January 2022, you will be able to get this simple champ for free. All you have to do is log in for 7 days during that time for new and returning players. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description or scan this QR code and you get the champion Verges, 200k silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost and 1 ancient shard, so you can summon more champions. To get your rewards, you simply have to go to your inbox, which is right here, and redeem them in the first 30 days. A big thank you to Raid for the sponsor, and let's move on with the video.
Alright, the door is open. Follow me, peasant. I'll get you out of here safely.
To start off, we're going all the way back to January the 12th, 2021. Patch 157 has just been released, adding some new armor for Sturger, and you already know it, Britannia, fixed a bunch of crashes, added voice lines to Istiana and the other dude, I forgot his name, and the highly anticipated child education feature that lets you craft your offspring's way through their childhood. From the ages of 2 to 16, you will be able to pick different options that increases the child's skills and attributes. Before that, your offspring wouldn't have any skills at all, so this was a big change in my opinion. But one issue still persists after all this time. Very few campaigns I played got me to the part where I can play as my children. The last one I played clocked a total of 2000 days and my offspring has yet to become of age. This needs some heavy balancing. I think a good way would be to increase the speed in which children grow up. The older they get, the slower it will be, and after hitting the age of 18, the speed would normalize. Or another way to tackle this issue would be a much faster aging system like in Crusader Kings. What do you think? Have you ever played as one of your children in your campaign after your main protagonist died? Feel free to tell me down below. Some new mechanics have also found their way into the game, like for example lords taking their relationship into account when taking hostile actions against each other, or lowering the aggression rate of already weakened kingdoms to tackle the snowballing issue. This was still a solid patch though, but some of the new stuff are still not utilized properly, like the offspring mechanic. There were definitely worse patches than this one. I'm looking at you, 4K resolution of a sheep's butthole. Jumping forward to February the 4th, 2021. Another month and look, another patch. Patch 158 to be precise. Bringing us again a lot of good stuff that were heavily missing before. Like 9 new Battalion helmets obviously, because Battalion doesn't get any love apparently. Armor values have been rebalanced. This was, I think, one of the first times they looked at the damage to armor calculations. Most of us were discontent with. I mean, getting a small pebble stone in your face while wearing a plate helmet and being knocked unconscious is just... With this patch also came different cheering animations, depending on how the battle went. For example, if you lost a lot of troops, your men will squat, look at the sky and be thankful that they're still alive, which is pretty immersive if you ask me. Something that I would have loved to see, and I do know that I said it back then, but I'm going to say it again, is the option to use these new ones for the player too. We still have the standard ones, which is a real bummer, in my opinion. I want my character to kneel down in the dirt and be thankful that he didn't die too, just like my troops do. This patch also introduced the new pillage mechanic when conquering any castle or town. Players and the AI are able to pillage, show mercy or devastate a recently conquered settlement, which has different outcomes for the settlement, like for example lowering the level of some of the workshops. After having this feature in the game for almost 1 year now, I think there should be some gameplay attached to it, depending on what kind of option you pick. Devastating a castle or town should open up a scene where you can throw torches onto buildings, order your men to kill civilians or forcefully recruit some of the men. The pillaging option can be something similar but without burning the city to the ground or killing civilians. Instead, the player would be able to pick up stuff that's lying around like tools, spices, valuables, dinars, etc. And the mercy option, well, it can stay as is, as a text box event. Of course, you will be able to just send your troops to do the deed for you, if you want to skip these battles. This would open up a whole new level of gameplay and a lot of depth would be added to this mechanic. The mechanic is good, don't get me wrong, it just needs some more interesting gameplay to it, instead of just being a text box event. What do you think? This patch also made AI units more thoughtful on what kind of weapon they should use against a specific type of enemy, which was a neat change in my opinion. Again, not a bad patch, but the pillaging option should have stayed in the oven for quite some more time. It feels like it was just slapped onto the game in a band-aid fashion, which is a trend of a lot of the features.
Yakıyor bunlar yakıyor. El yakıyor, ağız yakıyor, cep yakıyor. Alo, bekleyenler arasında 24. sıradasınız. Sarıla 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 sarıla. Hop, call center yaptım sana. Kutu kota ister misin?
Huh, whatever the fuck this was. Anyway, March came and so did a new patch for Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord, and thus I came as well. Patch 159 added, as usual, some new armor. Wait, what's that? This looks like yet another battalion armor. This patch also added the new sandbox mode many of us were eager to play, where you don't have to follow the main storyline of the game, giving you some more options regarding your age, and depending on what kind of culture you picked, you will start off in that specific faction's region. This was and still is a pretty good feature in my opinion. Every time I play the game now, I always pick the sandbox mode, since I love creating my own stories in the game, instead of following the main quest line. And lastly, prison break quests found their way into the game as well. Players now have the ability to rescue clan, family members, vassals, friendly and neutral lords that have been thrown into the dungeons. After bribing the guard through a text box event, you will be teleported into the dungeon, where you have to fight off guards to escape the dungeon with a captive. This is also a good feature, but underutilized. You could just wait a couple of days, like 2 to 4 most times, and the lord or lady will just escape the dungeon by their own. Also, you have to level the roguery skill tree for that, which I've actually never ever bothered with, to be honest. This feature is catered to the early game, but why would you free someone early game? You have to spend a lot of money to bribe the guard first, and then you may get a small relationship increase, and yeah. Late game, you wouldn't even be able to utilize this feature since your high renown value makes it impossible for you to sneak inside somewhere. In my opinion, they absolutely have to rework this feature. Make prisoners stay in prison for more than 2 days. Add some interesting perks to the roguery perk tree. Make us actually fight through alleys like in Warband, instead of almost always the same layout of dungeons over and over again. When you get caught sneaking into the town, make us fight our way out if we get spotted, so that we can try again another time, instead of just throwing us into the dungeon immediately, enabling safe scumming. Like I said, it's good that we can do stuff like this, but why would you go to this extent if prisoners just break out immediately anyway? Feel free to give me your thoughts. Jumping almost 2 months forward, since no major patch has been released in all of April, to the 4th of May 2021. Patch 1510 has been released for Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. This patch added a new intro video for the game, which visualizes the state of Calvadia when starting the game, a ton of new village scenes, castle scenes and town scenes, as well as a new tartan pattern scarf, a new helmet in 2 variations and 2 sturgeon boots. They've also added a new warlock tab to the diplomacy screen, so you can see all the newest events that happened in that war, and removed the learning rates when leveling up skills, which was one of my favorite changes in that patch. You will also get some special equipment and troops when joining a faction for the first time, and you have the option to abdicate the throne when you're a leader of a faction. And that's it with this patch. No major feature, but many small things were added with this one, and I guess we'll just move on to the next one. Patch 160 was released on the 10th of June 2021, and with it came the highly regarded Iron Man game mode, which restricted your campaign to only 1 save file. New boots for Sturger and a ton of new crowns for the Empire and Britannia, which are still my favorites to this day. This one too, but we'll get later to that. They also reworked the party screen in this patch to make it much more user-friendly and reduce the amount of clicks you have to do when upgrading troops, and added icons that indicate the main production of villages next to the names on the campaign map. This patch was the UI patch. They added a lot of UI related stuff like encyclopedia changes, party screen changes, campaign map changes, just a lot of things that make the game more user-friendly, which are very good things in my opinion. Also, the revision of cultural perks was a great thing too. Every faction now has interesting pros and cons that make you actually think about what kind of faction you want to pick depending on the way you play. One of the major features in this patch was the addition of crafting orders. This allowed us to create weapons for lords and notables that reside in settlements, giving you a gold reward and, depending on how well we did the job, a relationship boost with that specific noble, as well as taking a look at the price of crafted items. I still remember how we could have traded a whole city for 3 javelins. Good times indeed, fellow warriors. Good times indeed. After playing with this feature for quite some time now, and testing it to a very high extent, I think it's still a pretty neat feature and I use it most of the times in my playthroughs. It's a good way to generate some more income. Sure, there were instances where you could create a weapon for someone and he'll give you like, what, 500k dinars? Also, sometimes even if you create the weapon with all the requirements, the client is displeased. I guess it's because of the low value of the weapon, even if it meets all the criteria. An indicator for that would be pretty neat too, to be honest. I was wondering why my clients were all displeased at first, but after a while I noticed that the price of the weapon also plays a big role, so yeah. With the addition of 3 more quests and an elephant DLC leak, this patch stirred up many controversies, mostly discussions about what kind of DLC people want to see, how much DLCs would cost and why they start developing DLC already even, when the game isn't properly finished yet, and thus, this chapter of the Bannerlord patch era concludes, and we were eager to see what comes next.
No patches. For 2 months.
So, you want a new patch, huh? Hey, do you want the battle terrain system?
Yeah.
Hey fucker, get this man some of our finest patches.
Here you go, guys.
New sheep textures have
The best we can surely deliver.
Yeah, sure. But what about all the other aspects? We still have no banners or cutscenes. And the full release is in less than 6 months. And don't you ever call me Shirley again.
What the fuck do they want?
And what did come was patch 161 after almost 2 months on the 2nd of August 2021. Tailwoods has blessed us yet once again with a new update for Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. This patch added 3 new crowns for Britannia, Northern Empire and Western Empire, as well as new village scenes and new idle animations for heroes in their encyclopedia to reflect their personality type. One of the major additions in this patch was the addition of keep battles, where AI defenders that retreated during a siege to the keep put up a fight inside the keep now, rather than just vanishing. This can be achieved after winning a siege as an attacker. Now you might wonder, can you also defend the keep after losing a siege as defender? Sadly, this isn't possible. There was a lot of back and forth on the official forums as to why this wasn't implemented. In the end, it was said that it just wouldn't benefit the game and not many people will be able to experience this, which might be true. But it would just add some variety to sieges as well. Having a last stand with your men side by side while waves and waves of enemy intruders break into the keep. But all in all, keep battles are pretty fun but unbalanced, since party leaders will automatically join you. There is a chance that they might die even though the battle should be over by now, and you can't prevent them to join you in the keep battle scene. Combine this with putting your shields constantly down even though you're getting fired at from all over the keep, and you're bound to lose valuable clan members or even family members. It also would be nice to see multi-layered sieges. Right now it's just, you climb the wall and slaughter everyone, and then you're suddenly inside the keep and do the same. I would love to see the retreating party to have some choke points inside the city, and you have to advance slowly until you reach the keep, just like in the Total War games. Add some civilians running around screaming, burning houses, etc. and you've got a pretty epic scenario, fighting on the streets against your enemy. What do you think? With this patch came the first attempt to fix siege ladders too. Regular ladders worked pretty well after this one landed, but siege towers still had some issues. But it was nice to see the team trying to resolve siege issues, which were broken for more than 1 whole year, as well as prisoner ransoms and a new quest. On the 17th of August 2021, Tailwoods released a post discussing the future plans of Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord, giving the players an in-depth look at what's coming to the world of Karadia, like the battle terrain system, order of battle, banner bearers, party templates, cutscenes and much more. The fanbase went wild. Finally, we've got something that resembles a proper roadmap for the game. Some of these things have already found their way into the game, but features like banner bearers or cutscenes are still missing. I do hope that we'll get them soon. I mean, the game is called Bannerlord after all, right? They've discussed many solid features and ideas they're implementing into the game, and I'm very eager to see how they will handle these inside the game. On the 20th of August 2021, patch 162 has been released, adding 2 new Battanian armor, 2 new Azurai armor and a battle crown for the Crusades, which is still my favorite piece of armor in the game. New idle sounds, which were heavily needed, and I am very thankful that they work on the audio of the game in general. A new battle size for 800 troops at once, and the highly anticipated spear bracing feature. It's a pretty good feature in my opinion, but I have yet to use it properly since you need a troop type that has the proper spear length. I do however fondly remember that I leveled up a bunch of sturgeon spearmen. I guess you can all imagine the big disappointment in my face when I noticed that they can't spear brace at all. All the resources, all the time to level up hundreds of them, just lost, so I did what every normal human being would do in such a situation. I started dating Empress Regea. I'd love if this feature gets expanded onto. Maybe make it so spears can break when charging into them. I mean, it would make sense, right? And that concludes this patch. It was a pretty small one, but still a good one. There are a lot of smaller things here, which I'm thankful for, and we'll move on to the next one. Patch 163 has been released on the 22nd of September 2021, adding a new battle ground for Azurai Lords, new instruments and music for taverns, and NPC vs NPC death to Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. Any AI vs AI battle across the realm can end one noble's life, without the player being involved in that fight. Before that, you had to partake in some way or another for lords to die in battles. Now, after testing this feature out for several months, I noticed that way too many lords and ladies, in my opinion, die when roaming the lands, because there are a lot of battles being fought every single day. Sometimes lords even die in a quick succession and you're just like, what kind of genocide must have happened? I hope they're still going to fine-tune this mechanic, maybe just lower the chance of lords dying after battles, or giving NPCs some kind of shield after someone has just died from the clan, so they won't be wiped out immediately if the game hits them with a 5 deaths in a row combo. And to end this patch, one new quest has also been added. The next patch, 1.6.4, has been released on the 7th of October 2021. Added the local superiority mechanic, where troops will go after enemy troops that have been separated from the main formation. You can see this when going behind enemy lines and dismount. A new helmet for the Crusades have also been added, as well as granting peerage to companions. Now you can finally promote companions to proper nobles, given you have the proper requirements to do such thing, like having enough dinars, being the kingdom leader and possess enough influence. I've done this a lot in my recent playthrough, and I have to admit it's pretty OP, but in a fun kinda way. They won't betray you immediately like other nobles, and their gear will be randomly generated, depending on what their culture is. So essentially, you can just strip them of all the gear beforehand and promote them to a noble. When doing so, the game will randomly pick a loadout from a pool of possible high-tiered armor and distribute them onto your companion. Some new clan members will also be randomly generated, but there's one minor gripe with this system. Companions have titles like the Bull, the Swift, the Featherless and so on. These will persist after elevating them to noble rank, so they have a really long name that just doesn't fit together, as you can see right here. I hope Tailwords will work on this and just simply remove the title of your companions, but other than that, this must be one of the most fun features they've added this year. Shortly after the release of 1.6.4, a new patch has found its way into the game. Patch E165 brought us a new crown, new battalion armor, party role assignment improvements, generally UI changes and keep battle changes, where you can pick what kind of troops should follow you during a keep battle. Tournaments got a small rework in this patch as well. The winner of the tournament will now receive an elite reward, which means the reward will cost more than 5k dinars, if there are 4 or more nobles participating in the tournament. The higher the number of nobles, the better the reward. This was absolutely needed, and I do still quite like this change, even though we don't do a lot of tournaments in the later stages of the game. This brings us to the 10th of December 2021 with the release of patch E170. Fittingly enough, this was 21 days ago. 1.7.0 brought big changes to the game, which I will go over very quickly since I've already talked about all the stuff recently. The patch came with a bunch of new languages for you to pick and choose from, 2 new armor for the Empire, and missing sounds for siege engines, UI changes inside scenes when holding Alt, as well as the movement speed for parties next to their names on the campaign map. This patch also introduced the battle terrain system, where the region you engaged the enemy in will be reflected inside the battle map. Now, this feature is still pretty much new and I haven't extensively tested it, but from what I've seen, it works. Most of the time. Many times the campaign map region doesn't reflect the battle scenes. Sometimes lush forests on the campaign map are dry steppe areas on the battle scene. It really feels random at times and it's just weird running around in Empire territory and suddenly you're somewhere else. I do think that they iron these things out eventually, and all in all this is a really good feature, but still, this video is about the good and the bad, so that's that. The Order of Battle system also found its way into the game with this patch. Now, this feature is pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. And I had a lot of fun playing with it, creating different formations and rows of different kinds of troops. But I'll just let the clip play. I'm sure that they will fix this too, but things like that shouldn't have been overlooked during playtesting in my opinion. But other than that, I really love this feature and assigning captains to formations now just feels right. What do you think? The battle morale system also got a mini rework. Troops will now regain lost morale up to half of their initial morale during battles, like in the Total War games. The morale damage of kills have been adjusted as well. When testing this previously, I couldn't say a lot to it because I haven't tested it properly. Now I can say that these changes are actually huge. No longer will your enemy flee after you killed 5 of them in a row. I do remember that, especially with looters, if you killed like 5 out of their party of 90 looters, they all would just immediately flee the scene like a hive mind, killing my immersion, but this has been completely fixed now, and I'm grateful for Tailwords to address this issue. Sieges were also fixed with this patch. I think I don't have to tell you how happy I was when I covered the patch initially. And after testing this for almost 1 month, sieges work pretty well now. They are not perfect, don't get me wrong. Agents like to still run around on the bottom of the siege tower and so on, but hey, now your troop loss ratio is much lower than before and troops actually climb ladders. And this journey brings us to today. To this video I've been working on for quite some time now. 1 year of patches for Mount & Blade to Bannerlord with every major feature, every major change in one concise video. Of course, many smaller things have also been added and a lot of optimization has been done. It's really incredible how far we've come from when the game first released, but even though E170 was a pretty massive and good patch, many features that came this year were just undercooked, which is the most disappointing factor in my opinion. Things like the pillaging feature, prison breaks, keep battles, NPC death rates, the battle terrain system and the order of battle system. Most of these features feel all superficial in my opinion for a game that is in dire need of depth, and these systems could have brought a lot of depth and replayability to it. Make it so we have more than one dungeon layout for every faction. Give us some gameplay for the pillaging feature. Fine-tune the death rates so they don't die like flies. Give us more keep battle templates and fix the order of battle menu. Give us an actual good reason to visit town scenes. They are all beautifully crafted and you want to make every single one of them unique, which is just the cherry on top. But why would we ever want to visit them if there's literally nothing to do there? Everything nowadays can be done via the campaign map. The early game is the most fleshed out, most fun part of it all. And late game, phew, don't get me started on the grindfest that is called late game. Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord has a concept with such huge potential, and I do really hope that it will get there at some point, but I can't see it happening in less than 4 months. Remember, the game is set to release in Q2 2022. It just feels like with every step forward, the game goes 2 steps backwards. Hotfixes breaking features like languages. The modding tools crashing constantly for months just by opening it, and so many more issues. But I don't really want this video to end on this small rant. I'm very hopeful for the future. Communication between devs and the player base has improved. Suggestions are being taken serious and the game is going in the general right direction. Modding is better than ever and there are many big high quality mods coming to Bannerlord in 2022. If any of the Bannerlord devs watched this video, I hope that some of my suggestions will be also taken into account. But anyway, since tomorrow is the start of a new year, I wish every single one of you guys the best of luck for the next year. Maybe you're getting married, start a new job, get out of school, find true love, go to college and so on. Whatever you do, I'm very sure you can do it. If you don't have someone to believe in you, know that I'm believing in you, and I always will. You will get the promotion. You will find true love. You will finish college if you really want to, which I'm very sure you do. It's safe to say that 2021 hit us pretty hard, all of us, some more than others. But there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Keep that in mind. And yeah, I guess this is it for this video. I spent a lot of time on it, so I really hope you liked it. If you did, please hit that like button. It would help out tremendously and show me that you want to see more stuff from me. And if you really want to help me out, why not just subscribe to the channel? That would be pretty awesome. Join my Discord server if you want to talk to me or other like-minded people. And I see you all in the next year. Stay safe, warriors. Love you all, and bye.